I hate that I missed Elvis. I wish I would have had a chance to
Oh, he's
see
still alive.
Elvis.
He's working at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah. I mean, of
You never met him? No,
course not.
No,
No.
he died in 77. You
Yeah.
could have been a teenager who was.
I remember one time, Penn Jillette said to me, he said, if you ever get into an argument with somebody that's from another country and they're talking about, extolling the grand things that their country has given the world, he said, you can always win that argument with one word, Elvis.
Wow.
I mean, and he was the first cult of personality, that in modern history. Anyway.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, who else was? Then?
Charlie Chaplin.
Oh my God!
You should.
That's not modern history.
Of course it is. I mean, there were, but yes, Charlie Chaplin was a star of almost unbelievable magnitude by our standards. I mean, he was paid the kind of money that would sound impressive today, when the movies cost like a penny, and a house cost $12,000.
Yes. Okay, well then let me narrow.
And when he went to,
let me narrow it.
Like the headline in the paper when he went back to London, I think, was just "He's here." It was big. There were big people, but I look. There are people who will argue about Mr. Gillette's theory about Elvis. I'm not one of them. I've always been, since about age 14, when it was 1970, and I had not paid attention to Elvis before, but I really hadn't paid attention to music until I was about 12. So I got into the Beatles, and Elvis, in my mind at that time, was always this old dude who was before my time and corny rock and rolls, Hivil Swips. And then I heard a couple of songs that he did around that time, which is the time I love Elvis, when he got out of the movie contract, from Suspicious Minds until he died. He put out some amazing shit. And he wasn't fat until the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Very mature. I mean, Burt Bacharach wrote Any Day Now for him. And I mean, some great stuff. But yeah.
Well, there was no roadmap for Elvis. I mean, there's no musician that had ever experienced.
No.
He was the first, that phenomenon that was.
Yes, I think Bing Crosby was certainly a matinee idol star, but no, you're right. Bing Crosby was huge, probably in the 30s. He was not Elvis. Sinatra Sinatra was like Bing Crosby was the 20s. Sinatra in the late 30s, early 40s was Elvis-esque. Yes, it was a phenomenon. It was a happening when he went someplace. Just this intense excitement that you felt around where he was and what he was doing. And of course, the women must have been insane. But
okay, well.
But Elvis certainly.
I'll let you have all those also rans. I'm gonna stick with Elvis.
No, I love Elvis too. You can't get me on Elvis.
Okay.
I see.
Well, stop arguing with me then.
Well, I'm just giving you the reality. I mean, he wasn't. And then the Beatles, really outdid Elvis. There was much more of a worldwide phenomenon with the Beatles. Beatlemania was worldwide.
But they were huge Elvis fans.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although he also disappointed them. I mean, Paul McCartney and I think Lennon said, we loved him from 56 to 58, and then when he got out of the army in 1960, there was something that was missing. And wrong. I mean, that whole 60s was a lost decade. It was a lot of, it was what he called the travelogues. It was like, he did 29 movies. I mean, about 25 of them were Fun in Acapulco and Girls, Girls, Girls. And
I know.
Just these silly things. There was the same script in a different location and forgettable songs. But when he came out of that, I mean, he did have a great final act, I think, musically. If you listen to that stuff from the early 70s. But,
yeah. I remember when I was a kid, my aunt, my dad's younger sister, they didn't have a television. And the only time that she would come to our house and spend the night would be on a night when an Elvis movie was coming on. She would come to our house and spend the night so she could watch the Elvis. And she and my mother would sit up and watch the Elvis movie. You know, I just remember that when I was a kid. It doesn't. I just realized that. That's so strange.
I thought the movie. And did you see the movie?
I saw some of it. I don't know. There was something about it that made it just. It was almost unbearable. It was so.
Well, I thought the performance was great.
Yeah, the guy did a good job.
I didn't think the movie was great.
I didn't either.
And I mean, I don't think they. I mean, I understand they tried to capture.
You know, the thing where he called out the colonel from the stage in Vegas.
Yes.
He would never have done that.
So much of it was bullshit. As someone who knows the biography, that's what bothered me, one. Two, I don't think Tom Hanks, as great as an actor as he is, was right for the part of Colonel Tom Parker.
Didn't seem like...
He's too good. He's too nice. He's fucking Tom Hanks. I needed some scumbag. Because that is the tragedy of Elvis. What did Elvis die of? Bad management.
Damn right.
Bad management. He died of bad management.
Everything that he did and everything that he was, think of what he could have been.
Could have been. The colonel wouldn't let him go overseas where he was adored, and yet he never played Paris. He never played London.
He wouldn't.
Yes, because the colonel
couldn't go.
Couldn't go. And the movie contract and the fact that Elvis was this pathetic hillbilly who could not stop himself, apparently, from letting this father figure. Again, I thought that was rather clumsily portrayed in the movie, but, you know, maybe it did well and I'm being picky, but, you know, that's the tragedy of Elvis, that he could not get away from that shadow. And, I mean, he didn't do the Star is Born. He was offered The Star is Born with Barbra Streisand, and I think the story was he would not accept second billing. And you don't want to get into that fight with Barbra Streisand.
No.
And you shouldn't.
So the colonel, I didn't know
she was a
that
much bigger star at the time. What?
So the colonel wouldn't let him do it because he wasn't getting top billing. Is that what happened? I don't know.
Right. But probably the colonel just didn't want him ever to... it's very Howard Hughesian. You know, the way Howard Hughes had these Mormons around him who kept him insulated. And Howard Hughes had an inclination to go back into the real world. He didn't want to be this recluse, but they would scare him back every time. Germs, Howard. There's germs out there. And he'd crawl back into his cell that he'd made for himself, pissing into bottles because he was afraid of germs. He'd be perfect for COVID.
He would have been.
He'd be a regular Dr. Fauci. But okay, but Elvis was kind of like wanting to expand, and the colonel scared him every time into going back to his ruts. I mean, he worked him like a mule.
Yeah.
People don't realize the day he died, he was scheduled to go to Portland, Maine. I've been to Portland, Maine.
I have too.
Okay. We said poor Portland. We'd say it with such resignation.
I went there in the winter.
Portland was, oh, wow. You do love show business.
I did a winter tour one time.
Wow.
And, you know, what I was told when I was convinced to go do it was, man, you're going to love it, man. You go up north, you know, way up north, and you do this winter tour, and these people all have cabin fever, and they come out to the shows and lose their minds, you know. And? Well, that didn't help. I was miserable.
Okay.
Couldn't get off the bus.
Hey, thanks for watching the clip. Hit the subscribe button now so you never miss out on our Club Random content that's posted daily.